Hi. So this is week 8, Semantics, Pragmatics, and Discourse Analysis. Um, I don't have this page totally formulated yet because I have to plug this video into it, but it is part of the course objectives. And we'll do some of discourse analysis this week and then more later. You can go right to what it looks like in the weeks through the modules or through that link. So go to week 8, and then all the assignments for week 8 will be listed. Um, they're kind of slowing down. Um, the midterm does open up on the ninth week, and you will have over a week to do it. Anytime you want, as many times as you want to do it. I have a complete next week. You'll have I'll show you the complete um, breakdown for it. As far as like, I have a video that goes over everything on the midterm, and so don't panic, as they say in Douglas Adams' classic work of comedy sci-fi, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And um, you know, everything should be under control. There are a couple of things I did put last, I'm sorry, the final review, sorry, Kahoot final review, can just go to the Kahoot, it'll take you right there. Anytime you're just like, hey, what do I have to learn in this class? Well, say this, and it's going to tell you what you have to learn in the class. Including, basically most people will say, oh, well, that's just semantics. Well, semantics is meaning, and it's the study of meaning and words and meaning. And then pragmatics is like, well, there's a level where you're saying things and it has meaning, but it doesn't always literally mean that. So what do you really mean? And it breaks that all down. Um, so in a simple kind of way, so the meaning of here, darn it. Um, what is a dog? Phonetician, phonologist, morphologist, syntactician, and the semanticist is, yeah, all those are true, right? Because they're all possible meanings, right? So the study of meaning. Um, so here it's a little bit more also what people really mean. I didn't make this confusing. Like, so the meaning behind the meaning, the meaning behind the surface meaning, why they really say it. That's pragmatics. Pragmatics, to be pragmatic is to be practical, right? So what are you practically saying when you say something? So, what can the weather, you look awesome. This beer is awesome. This weather is awesome. Hot, cold, mild. It can mean lots of different things depending upon what was meant. There won't be a lot of questions on pragmatics or semantics on the test, on the midterm or on the final. But again, just want to hit keep hitting the fact that you can always turn to this to review. And I put it last because there's no real, credit associated with it necessarily. Okay, so semantics. So this opens up to this link, right? And it'll open up to a wiki book. Again, Catherine Anderson's book is good, really great, and then it goes like, well, deep dive, not down, like like that up. So, what is semantics? What are two meanings associated with semantics? And then there's a whole bunch of words that if you know anybody taking like AP English Lit, they have to know some of these. And sometimes they just put them into like really, um, a lot of these names, like we know what the things are, but then we don't know the labels. And I'm gonna have you kind of, look at them like polysemy. Polysemy just means many meanings, right? Multiple meaning words when you're teaching elementary school, right? Synonymy, antonymy, I don't know. It sounds like autonomy too much, but So like some of these things like homophones or homophones and homonyms, we all know it's just weird as a noun. So it has these things. They're defined. Um, that's pragmatics. That's actually discourse analysis, and this is semantics. So studying conceptual and associative meaning, um, and both of those are really important for language, right? Um, there is a part of this, I'm not doing all this like kind of a lot of linguists like to turn everything into like almost a math and scientific, and I don't buy all of it. But um, anyway, those are some straightforward question types things when you're looking at the roles of roles are really important too, semantic roles, and um, I do have these great
Students with ADHD save 10 hours.
I have these great lectures from the virtual
This
linguist
first e-lecture of the
campus.
VLC Semantics and Pragmatics class discusses the contribution of semantics to the study of language and provides an overview of other academic disciplines with an interest in the subject. Furthermore, it outlines several issues related to the description of meaning. In particular, we will look at the role of semantics within linguistics, as well as the role of semantics in other disciplines of semantics. Now, the term semantics, originally a Greek term, is a recent addition to the English language. However, in its early use in the 19th century, the term was not used simply to refer to meaning, but to its development, what we today call historical semantics. Despite additional attempts around 1900, the term did not catch on until Ogden and Richards published their now famous book, The Meaning of Meaning, in 1923. Today, semantics is one of the central areas within linguistics, with ambitious goals and numerous applications and influences, but also one of the most problematic ones.
I'm sorry that was a little bit longer than I'd like to have shown, but still, if you really are interested, there's so much you can go, so many deep dives with Open Linguistics or the Open Linguistics virtual linguistic campus. So, defining semantics. I have a couple links later. If you look here, um, to semantic videos for and pragmatic videos for notes. There's a whole bunch of them that I gave you. You only have to do three. This the one? No, this is the one. So there's a couple here. This one has a video, and then
meaning, how we share meaning with others, and
there's actually a quiz here.
Philosophers and linguists alike have long debated the intricacies of language, how we construct meaning, and how stationary those meanings really are. You've probably heard the line, "That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet." Shakespeare asserts here, then, that a name doesn't matter. It's what that even if we cease to call a rose matter, it's what that thing or concept really is. Even if we cease to call a rose, we could still smell its fragrance, feel its velvety petals, and be pricked by its thorns.
Yeah, except for in the context of that, play, that's not what it means. I mean, that's what it means, but it's like, it's Juliet hypothesizing if that what we call a rose would, by any other name would be just as sweet, but she's trying to hope that Romeo could not be a Montague and have another name, and then they could be together and everything would be cool. But the thing is, he can't just give himself another name. He's a member of a family, society, and it's a tragedy, and they're doomed. But meaning, right? So there is after this. There's a little like there are quiz with multiple choice. Um, what do you call it? Questions. You can use these to answer. Semantic means both the linguistic field of study about the meaning of words, as well as the differentiations between words and sentences based on context, right? And it's really important, semantics, meaning and how we derive it. And, really context embedded, and there's a whole bunch of, different sources.
Basic answer to the question, what is semantics? Semantics is the study of meaning. By creating a common understanding of the meaning of things, semantics can help us better understand each other. For example, let's say you have a dog and I have a dog. Our original image of what that dog might look like may be different, but we can use language to help us come to a common understanding of what that dog is.
I mean, some of it seems so basic that it's like philosophy, and a lot of language and philosophy are really related. And sometimes tiring because they're like that. Okay, so the second part was like pragmatics. And with pragmatics, again, we have the Wikibooks link, right? Discourse analysis, so I keep going the wrong one. So pragmatics is the study of how context affects meaning, like all the type of context, right? Physical context, like what's happening in time and space, how is something used, and linguistic context. In discourse, we're going to use the discourse analysis. Any type of text, any type of gathering of words together. How is it used in a sentence, preceding it, paragraph, and so this is Deixis. And there's these other like kind of Greek-based words that I don't know that they'll really help you, other than as specialized terms. I mean, the concepts are kind of important. Reference, is it inference, anaphora, speaking about something, tying things together through references. That's anaphora. Okay. Implicature, speech acts, locution, saying it, illocution, the purpose of why, illocutionary acts, they call them perlocution, direct and indirect illocution. You're doing it like you say something directly or you can imply it. And anybody who's dealt with human being or been in any kind of relationship knows how important that is. And there are also Searle's classifications of speech acts: directive, expressive, declarative, and commissive and representative, and then the felicity and condition. So those are there's just some questions and pretty straightforward. Discourse analysis. What is discourse analysis? Right? It takes things. Okay, so discourse is basically dialogue, written text. It's looking at text and then really kind of looking at how things organize and work. 1 second. Searles. Okay, Searles. Yeah, it mentions on the bottom of this Grecian maxims and a guy named Grice, and it'll come into discourse analysis next week a little bit, and more, and we'll go into critical discourse analysis, like really looking at how language is used and language and power and language, how manipulative it is. That's where linguistics, I think, it's one of the many ways in which it gets kind of interesting. Okay, so here, the University of Texas Austin stuff, every time, this is extra credit, just kind of answer basically like the review and reflect questions, at least the review ones. The reflect ones, like those are kind of essays, so really short. But I just thought, if you're really interested in this stuff, do it more. You don't have to do it, but it's still like cool to check out, Okay, so after that, we have your typical crash course semantics. These are always a good.
In Portland, Oregon, people aren't afraid to try things, like forest therapy, in a forest just 10 minutes from downtown.
Yeah, okay. Play soon. Come on, can you just play the? It's got another one too. Sorry. Okay.
I'm Taylor, and welcome to Crash Course Linguistics. What is the meaning of life? Or of chair? Or of rabbit? Well, we might not know about life, but we can easily find out what a word means. We just look it up in the Dictionary TM. Episode over. Wait a sec. The first problem with relying on a dictionary to give a word meaning is that dictionaries are made by people. And the people who write dictionaries, called lexicographers, still need some other way of figuring out what words mean. The second problem is that writing a definition isn't always the most effective way of pinning down the meaning of a word. The area of linguistics interested in meaning and the many ways that we can describe it is semantics.
That's, get your 10 notes. I love when you guys do creative kind of notes and there's colors and doodles and, just make it whatever works for you, however it works, not trying to say one way is better. Another, okay, so I have a whole bunch of covered all this. Just want to kind of expose. I mean, obviously you can click through them and you know what they are. Now, okay, so here are a whole bunch of the last thing, and that's the first video that I showed you. The second one, oh, that was really boring. It's kind of basic, whatever. Any three of these, 15 points. Do some extra. I mean, I'll give you extra points. This is John Green's brother, and he does the philosophy. He does some science and philosophy stuff. This is more general about like language and meaning because it's philosophy, but he does get into semantics and he does get into pragmatics. I think he gets into he has a whole thing in implicature, Netflix and chill implicature, right? So it is really actual, it's really a linguistic analysis at the end of the day. Resemblance, let me see, paradigm cases. I think he has it. Code words. Oh, experiment. Really, cat. Don't cat. Cats always want attention. This one at least. I mean, when they want it, you know what I mean? Okay. Which is usually when I'm busy doing something. So that one you can take notes on. I won't go over it much. Then Pragmatics, Steven Pinker, and I wanted to show you the Crystal really quick. I'll include this because he has a really good. He's just a great linguistics guy, and I think if you find him doing anything, check it out. He's a bona fide.
People often ask me when they're studying language at A level, what's the most important perspective that needs to motivate all the work you do on language? And people think it's grammar, isn't it? No, it isn't. Grammar is important, of course. Vocabulary, well, that's important too. Pronunciation, phonology, well, that's important as well. All these different aspects of language are important, but they're all subordinate to one much more important concept, and that's the notion that goes under the heading of pragmatics. Now, a pragmatic perspective is really essential because pragmatics answers the question, why? It's not just a matter of doing language, you see, is it? Of saying, oh, this happens, and that happens, and that happens. Look, he's using that particular word, or she's using that particular grammatical construction. The question is, why are they using it in this way? And that's what pragmatics does. If you want a definition of pragmatics, it's the study of the choices you make when you use language, the reasons for those choices, and the effects that those choices convey. So when you're studying a piece of language and you say, oh, look, that person has used a lot of passive constructions, or that person has done such and such, always ask the question, why did they do it? And when you're asking the question why, you're basically saying, why did they do it that way rather than that way? You see this?
No, this seems, I mean, he's kind of an upbeat, funny guy, charming, but sometimes people, like the news, will use passive constructions to help governments or the guilty avoid culpability, avoid being held accountable. So they'll say, so many innocent civilians were killed, or so many civilians died or were killed, but they leave out who killed them, right? Right? Were they killed with U.S. bombs, right? Was it a U.S. ally who killed them? The 10 children. And you use euphemisms like in the military, collateral damage when you hit innocent civilians. They're collateral to the side of your target, but that's a pretty dark way of talking about innocent slain. So there's a lot of different things in pragmatics and how it'll feed into some of the stuff we'll cover next week with critical discourse analysis, where you're looking at Um, Politics and language, hegemony, the control of ideas and language, and it's an extremely important thing.
It's always the choice. If you use a passive construction and say something like, the cat was chased by the mouse, well, then you didn't say the cat chased the mouse or the mouse chased the cat. Whichever way you're doing it, you use the passive. Why did you do it that way? And the answer will always be to do with something about the context, something about the meaning you had in mind, something about emphasizing one aspect of the sentence rather than the other. Or in vocabulary, if you use a particular word or use a particular way of addressing somebody, names, for example, terms of address. You meet somebody, hello, John, hello, Jones, hello, Mr. Jones, hello, Jonesy, hello, JJ, hello, Nobber. Well, why do you say Nobber? Because you and Jones go back a long way and you know his nickname from when he was a kid. Every one of those choices tells you something about the history of your relationship with that person. And pragmatics is the study of those choices. Why did you call him that name rather than the other name? Now here's the point. Every aspect of language, whether it's vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, spelling, punctuation, whatever it is, when you actually explore it, there's a reason for its use. Pragmatics is the study of those reasons. That's why it's so important. In a word, pragmatics allows you to answer the question, why?
The pragmatics answers the question, why? Okay, so that's really all I needed to record, and I hope that's enough for this week. Next week, we'll go into discourse analysis, and it'll be your midterm. You'll have a week for the midterm, and there's a video. You can always look at the Kahoot. There's the study guide material, that I had you do earlier as well. All right. Well, it's nice visiting with you this unilateral virtual way where I'm just talking, but I'll see you next week. Oops, that's weird. Let me stop the recording.